Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Alfi Syahrin Zainuddin and I am from Group 6. We are going to talk about the Alexandrian school, Euclid and the elements. To make it easier to explain, we divided our topics into 3 parts. On the first part, we will discuss about the Center of Learning, the museum, and Euclid's life and writings. Before that, let's have a look at the old maps of Alexandria in Egypt. Alexandria was founded by Alexander the Great in April 331. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Alfi Syahrin Zainuddin and I am from Group 6. We are going to talk about the Alexandrian school, Euclid and the elements. To make it easier to explain, we divided our topics into 3 parts. On the first part, we will discuss about the Center of Learning, the museum, and Euclid's life and writings. Before that, let's have a look at the old maps of Alexandria in Egypt. Alexandria was founded by Alexander the Great in April 331 BC. Alexander wanted to build a large Greek city on Egypt's coast that would bear his name. He chose the site of Alexandria, envisioning the building of a causeway to the nearby island of Paros that would generate 2 great natural harbors. Alexandria was intended to supersede the older Greek colony of Nocratics and Hellenistic center in Egypt, and to be the link between Greece and the rich Nile Valley. A few months after the foundation, Alexander left Egypt and never returned to the city during his life. At Alexander's death, one of his leading generals, Ptolemy, became governor of Egypt and completed the foundation of Alexandria. The city had the advantage of a superb harbor and docking facilities for 1,200 ships. So it became with the shortest possible delay the trading center of the world, the commercial junction point of Asia, Africa, and Europe. For nearly 1,000 years, it was the center of Hellenistic culture, growing in the later years of the Ptolemaic dynasty to an immense city of 1 million people. Next, let's talk about the Museum of Alexandria. The museum or museon at Alexandria, which included the famous Library of Alexandria, was an institution said to have been founded by Ptolemy I Soter. This original museum was the home of music or poetry, a philosophical school, and library such as Plato's Academy, and also a storehouse of texts. It did not have a collection of works of art, rather it was an institution that brought together some of the best scholars of the Hellenistic world, analogous to a modern university. This original museum was the source of the modern usage of the word museum. Though the Museum of Alexandria did not have a collection of sculpture and painting presented as works of art, as was assembled by the Ptolemy's rival Attalus at the Library of Pergamon, it did have a room devoted to the study of anatomy and an installation for astronomical observations. Rather than simply a museum in the sense that has developed since the Renaissance, it was an institution that brought together some of the best scholars of the Hellenistic world, as I said, as German Bazin compared it. The collection had been built partly by the purchase of private libraries, one of which, according to tradition, was Aristotle's. After the death of Aristotle, his personal papers passed into the hands of a collector who, fearing that they would be confiscated for the library at Pergamon, hid all the manuscripts in a cave. The scrolls were badly damaged by insects and moisture, and the Alexandrian copyists made so many errors when restoring the text that they no longer agreed with the version of Aristotle's works already housed in the library. the Museum of Alexandria. Archimedes, the father of engineering. Callimachus, did I say it right? Callimachus, a noted poet, critic, and scholar. Euclid, the father of geometry, and Hipparchus, founder of trigonometry. Next, Euclid's life and writings. Before the museum passed into oblivion in after decade 641, it produced many distinguished scholars who were to determine the course of mathematics for many centuries. Like we said earlier, Euclid, Archimedes, Eratosthenes, Apollonius, Pappus, and so many others. Of these, Euclid is in a special class. The father of geometry, also known as the founder of geometry, Euclid of Alexandria was a Greek mathematician. Not much is known about his early and personal life. However, he is considered to be the father of geometry for his monumental contribution in the field of mathematics. He expressed his thoughts, viewpoints, and opinions on the subject in his books, The Elements, which is regarded as the most influential mathematical works of all time. Since the time of its publication and until the 19th or early 20th, this book served as the main textbook for teaching mathematics. Euclid's writings, thoughts, and works were heavily influenced by Aristotle, Thales, Pythagoras, and Eudoxus, to name a few. Euclid died in 270 BC, presumably in Alexandria. In the only other key reference to Euclid, Pappus or Alexandria, briefly mentioned that Apollonius spent a very long time with the pupils of Euclid at Alexandria, and it was thus that he acquired such a scientific habit of thought. Because the lack of biographical information is unusual for the period, some researchers have proposed that Euclid was not a historical personage and that his works were written by a team of mathematicians who took the name Euclid from Euclid of Megara. However, his hypothesis is not well accepted by scholars and there is little evidence in its favor. Next, let's talk about the book, The Elements. The Elements is a compilation of the most important mathematical facts available at the time, and it organized into 13 parts. Euclid also was the author of at least 10 other works covering a wide variety of topics. The Greek text of his Data, a collection of 95 exercises probably intended for students who had completed the elements, is the only other text by Euclid on pure geometry to have survived. Treatise conic sections, which form the foundation of the first four books of Apollonius' work on the same subject, has been irretrievably lost, and so has the three-volume work called Porisms. The term porism in Greek mathematics means a corollary. The latter is the most grievous loss for it apparently was a book on advanced geometry, perhaps an ancient counterpart to analytic geometry. There is no mention of Euclid in the earliest remaining copies of the Elements. Most of the copies say they are from the edition of Theon or the Lectures of Theon, while the text considered to be primary, held by the Vatican, mentions no other. Proclus provides the only reference ascribing the Elements to Euclid. Although best known for its geometric results, the Elements also includes number theory. It considers the connection between perfect numbers and Mersenne primes, known as the Euclid-Euler theorem. The Institute of Prime Numbers, Euclid's lemma on vectorization, and the Euclidean algorithm for finding the greatest common divisor of two numbers. The geometrical system described in the Elements was long known simply as geometry, which geometry stands for geo and metry, and those are the words from Greek. Geo means earth and metry means measure, and it was considered to be the only geometry possible. Today, however, the system is often referred to as a Euclidean geometry to distinguish it from other so-called non-Euclidean geometries discovered in the 19th century. So that's all from the first part of this topics. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, let's discuss. Thank you very much.